and then you have the representation of the ether, the equivalent of it on the physical side as hydrogen. So he's got H1, E1, H2, E2, and so on and so forth, okay, on the etheric side. You with me? So they are interlinked, they're interwoven. So as you're breathing in this oxygen, okay, doing the proper breathing techniques, you're also able to breathe in the sachem into the fiber of your being, which when you're able to direct that energy, you're actually then able to go, it goes into, it fills it into the cells of your body, okay, and can actually heal because it's on a resonating frequency. Do you understand? So you can actually heal cells in your body based off of this sachem that you're breathing in. And it also has many other abilities. Zamal, if you can get the breath book, I think it's up there. I'll read a portion from there and then it give you a much more enlightened explanation, hopefully, or darkened, should I say, explanation as to what's going on. But essentially, the principle of it is called smile. Okay, let me see if I can. So this is called Pa Yafat Misfa, the breath book, and it's a series number 50. Okay, so just try and find. Oh, let me just admit somebody in. So we know that breath is life. Okay, so I'm just going to read from here. Breath is life. Haya, life is absolutely dependent upon the act of yafuch, breathing. Breath is haya, life, as they may differ upon details of hakak, fact, and terminology. The East and the West agree upon these fundamental principles. To yafuch, breathe, is to live. And without yafat, breath, there is no life. Not only are the higher animals dependent upon breath for haya, life, and nachab, health, lower forms of Huan animal life must breathe to hayu, live. For without breath, there's no life. Okay, so we understand that principle. Yeah, without breath, there's no life. Yeah. This is determined. Let's read from it. The respiratory system. So again, we're going to the respiratory, breathing, etc. is dealing with that. Even when you're saying spirit, the word spirit, espiritos, that's where you get the word spirit from. It's from this word, respirare. Yeah. So respiratory system is what controls the breathing rate and depth of breathing. This is determined by the amount of percentage of carbon dioxide, oxygen, and acidosis in the arterial damam blood. There are receptors called chemoreceptors in each of the aorta and throughout the arteries that send signals and feedback to the respiratory center to increase or decrease the ventilatory output depending on the condition of these metabolic variables. Okay, you can look all this up in your thing, but like the sister asks, what are the things that are not mentioned in good old institutional education? So the East talk about it, but the West don't really touch on it because they'll then have to admit that there's other energies that exist beyond the physical. You with me? That's one of the reasons why they don't really teach it too much and say as an Eastern pseudoscience or give it some kind of terminology. So let's just find a portion. Right. The average person, shachas, today breathes incorrectly, resulting in contracted chest and stooping shouldered, which cause a terrible increase of marad'at, diseases of the respiratory organs. The unnatural breathing is a contamination of bad habits, which will need a ka'al, munbab, or spiritual master to reteach them. The percentage of Zazazu men and Zazastatu women who breathe fata'ali, naturally and correctly is quite small. It's been stated that one Talmud generation of correct breathers would generate the Salah race, and disease will be so rare as to be looked upon as a curiosity. So again, the master's alluding here that if a generation of people were able to breathe properly, this is where we come in as Musbatu. Because as Sabians, if we're learning these principles and these, exercises, what is actually happening to us as a race of people is being all uploaded into the morphogenetic field. Remember, this morphogenetic field is recording, it records everything and stores everything. So the next generation who come along will be able to be breathing and living longer based on the principles and the techniques and the exercises that we do. You with me? Likewise, vice versa. If we were to do the wrong things, it also gets uploaded. It's a bit like a computer, really, because a computer, if you feed it negative or positive, it only gives you whatever the output is. You with me? So likewise with the morphogenetic field, if we're constantly studying, practicing Wu-Sabat, etc., it's all been uploaded into the morphogenetic field. Okay? And this is a whole generation then will be able to be without disease, or will be it'll be rare for us to contract diseases. Okay. So natural ether energy is another thing that's within the blood that they don't mention in the institutional schools, is that we have something within us, non-ether or natural ether energy. And this etheric energy, which is a form of saham, is what's also within the solar plexus is generated. So the abundance of natural ether energy that you do have, okay, which is moving through your blood system, it means then that the plasma that's in your blood, okay, is heated to such a potency that it makes it very hard for any foreign disease, any foreign bacterial, what do they call it? What's the word? Yeah, that's it. Thank you. Foreign bacteria, microorganisms, etc. Antigens they refer to, which just trigger off, allergic reactions. All of these things are minimized or eradicated because of the heat that's in your plasma. Do you understand? And this is another reason why most of us during the COVID, especially those we were working very closely to the Mukasu and other races, that we were susceptible to dying or contracting COVID because our plasma is not heated to a level that it's supposed to be. Do you understand? So we were compromising ourselves all the time. And also the foods and the diet also compromises us. Okay. Just moving on. Just find the main part that. Okay, this goes more into the lungs, etc. So these, like I said, most of these you'll be able to find in any biological book. Right. So the esoteric facts of breath. The science of breath, like many other teachings, has its esoteric or inner phase, as well as its exoteric or outer phase. The physiological phase may be termed the outer or exoteric side of the subject, and the phase which I would now consider may be termed its esoteric or inner side occultist. In all ages and lands, I've always taught, usually secretly to a few followers, there was to be found in the air a substance or principle from which all activity, vitality, and hayah, life, was derived. Saham, power. They differed in their terms and ranan'at, names, for this force, as well as in the details of the facts. Yet, the main principle is to be found in all occult teachings and philosophies borrowed from Mahmat, Egypt, and has formed a portion of the teachings of Samay, science of complete union breathing, or what you would know as Muhammad, Egyptian yoga. In order to avoid misconceptions arising from the various facts regarding this great principle, which are facts are usually attached to some name and therefore given the I principle, in this work I'll speak of the principle being the Muhammad Egyptian term absolute energy. So, many occult authorities teach that the principle in which the Egyptian term Saham, power, is a universal principle of energy or force. The Hindus call it prana, and that all energy is derived from that principle, or rather is a particular form of manifestation of that principle. These facts do not concern us in the consideration of the subject matter of this work. I will therefore confine myself to an understanding of Sakham power as the principle of Nashat energy exhibited in all living things, which distinguish them from a lifeless thing. So we consider it as the active principle of life, vital force. Okay? So that's the principle, that's the science of breathing, which it goes into much more detail, the different types of breathing that you can do. Do you know what I mean? Even to the point where you can actually have an object in your hand, like a drink of water, holding in your left hand, okay, and actually sending energy. Like the doctor, the Japanese doctor, I've forgotten his name, I'm not even going to pronounce his name, but he was able to prove that water changes its molecular structure based on what energy you send to it. You with me? Water can actually be stagnant or die or have life vitality. Okay, so with the science within this particular book, it actually teaches you how to actually put life into the water that you drink. You can hold in your left hand, which is a channeling hand, and then you have the right hand where you can sprinkle like you're sprinkling like water from your fingers onto it. Like this will be like Saham energy, but you can build all this up through your walking in the mornings when you're walking through the park, especially when it rains. You can acquire all of this into your being, and your life force will be vitally charged because of it. Okay, so I hope that answers your question.
Oh,
okay. So on that, are there any questions further on this or any other topics that you may have? Could you put the light back on, please, and I'll tell that. Okay. Yeah, go ahead. I mean, this Rahul Azamah.
sorry about that.
Go ahead.
So, sorry to keep asking questions about the human body and such, but
It's very important to know.
sure, I want to know when we're eating foods and stuff. I know I heard that the body acts like or the body is our temple per se. So when we're eating food, it's like an offering to our bodies. Can I hear more about how that works in the sense of, okay, so once we give the body this offering, based on what we're eating, whether it's disagreeable or agreeable, what does the body then decide to do with that in theory?
Okay, so understand that everything is energy. So you have to come from the point of energy. Okay. Now, energy, when it slows down its vibration, depending on the mood, the scheme, the vibration, the color, okay, and the matrix, okay, that is designed, the formula that is designed to become. So it could be an apple, yeah, it could be banana, it could be a lion, etc. Depending on its molecular formula, yeah, it will manifest in that shape and form. Does that understood? So energy from matter to frequencies. I don't know what's going on there. I have no idea what that is. Okay, just had some static going on. Maybe it's going off. So yeah, while the brothers doing that. So so just imagine, so you have to now think energy is, sorry, the foods that we eat is really energy. Yeah, all matter is energy. Yeah, in just a various degrees and vibrations. Yeah, and matter can be also different forms of colors. Yeah, so so now that you understand that principle, and you got that basis, each food has its molecular structure. Yeah, understood. And this molecular structure is what binds to your dimensional matrix, your matrix that you are made up of. So if you're eating an apple, what's the reason for, and what's the purpose of an apple? What's its purpose? Very good, touche. But no, its ultimate purpose is nutrition. Yeah, so it gives you nutrition, which your body will then process and metabolize and utilize for its own needs. Do you understand? So likewise, you are what you eat. It's that simple. It literally is that simple. You are what you eat. So the molecular binding of that apple, okay, and its purpose is fulfilled its purpose once it's been plucked off that tree, ripe, eaten, it's provided you with nutrition. So it's fulfilled its purpose. Yeah. So likewise, when you're eating, consuming foods or anything in that category, whether it's live or dead or whatever the case may be, yeah, it's affecting you on a molecular basis. It's binding with your matrix. And in it binding with your matrix, it actually can either affect you in your mental state, it can affect your emotional state, because remember, emotions is dealing with you secreting certain hormones. That's what affects. So the foods that you eat secretes or activates certain hormones, and these processes affect you physiologically. You with me? And then likewise, also on the energy level, depending on the types of foods you eat, can also affect you on an energy level. Now, if you're eating a lot of meat, for instance, as we've been explained, keep off the meat because the meat is a dead thing, and the spirit is in the blood. So we know that the spirit's in the blood of that creature that you've consumed, and that becomes a part of your matrix. So when it binds with you, it gives off an energy that you are now attracting because your body is the temple. Yeah, you're attracting beings to your temple. You with me? And that's why a lion or other creatures, like even if for instance, mosquitoes, the reason why they bite certain people is because you're emitting a certain pheromone. You with me? And that pheromone is what they detect. And that's why they come in and they suck the blood in order to, consume what they need. Yeah. But it's because you're emitting a certain pheromone or what's the word I'm looking for? Smell, for lack of a better word. Yeah. And that smell is attracting certain beings, or you're emitting a particular energy that beings on a more high vibrational level that you not be able to necessarily see with your physical eyes, but they can sense or see you, you know what I mean, with your energy level. So an example of that would be bats, for instance. Bats can see in the dark because they're using echolocation, which sense of a vibration, whichever, and that creature that they're after, they know by the composition of its blood, etc. They know that that's the creature that they want. You with me? Or snakes. Snakes use their tongue, and they to smell or to detect. And when they're detecting, because snakes don't see very well in the dark, you see, so they rely on your color, your vibration, and your frequency, which you're constantly emitting. You with me? And they even show you in what they call it, those things that they use in the dark. There's a what's it called? Yeah, heat seeking things or heat detectors. They show that your body is composed of heat. There's some portions that'll be more highly visible than others. You with me? And all of this is allowing you to be prey to other creatures or other beings who are not necessarily something that you can physically see, but they're attracted to you because of what you give off. Does that make sense? Yeah. So within Wu-Sabat, we are taught not to eat blood meat. You with me? Because blood meat, we know that certain creatures are attracted to that. And also things like cheese, things like alcohol, things like coffee or caffeine. These are things that we have been guided not to eat, because of the fact that it stops you producing certain serotonin and okay, which is secreted in your body before you sleep. And all of that is affecting your cognitive awareness and other things that's going on. So it's not just even on a just animals or beings are attracted to you. It's also affecting you in your whole daily cycle. Yeah. So does that make sense? Or have I answered your question? Sure.
Sure.
Okay. All right. Are there any questions in the chat room? Do I need to check in there?
There's a question on Zoom,
Okay.
Amal. So I generally attract bees, butterflies, ladybugs. Does this mean my energy is low?
No, 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 no. No, far from it, because bees are attracted to ultraviolet light. butterflies are attracted to our ultraviolet light. So most insects are actually working off of the ultraviolet light going into that state of darkness. So we are beings that also are made up of ultraviolet light. Okay, it's just that when light condenses, it becomes black. So the melanin that we have is actually ultraviolet frequency that has just been condensed into what appears to be the color that we have, which is either dark brown all the way down to pure black, even to the point where some people can become blue black.
Yeah.
You know, and you have seen blue black. Trust me, it's like wow. I mean, there's a actress, I think she's from Sudan. She's Sudanese, I think, one of them countries, and she's like really, really, really dark. So this actual process of your energy being low, no, your energy is depending on what you're doing, obviously, why you're attracting these beings, is what so these insects is why they're coming to you. You know, I don't know what you do within your life, whether you're advocate of chanting and the principles of fasting and meditating, etc. But when you're raising your frequency, you emit certain colors. So these creatures, especially the ones you've mentioned, are attracted to the ultraviolet rays. I hope that answers your question. Any more questions on that? Let me see if I can find an update that goes into. Oh, hold on. I've got an invite on Clubhouse. Let me just invite. I'm not going to pronounce your name, my brother, just to not to insult you. So I'm inviting you to speak. TBBOA. I hope I pronounced your name right. If you're up on stage, if you'd like to speak.
Oh, sorry, it was muted. Rahubat,
Rahubat, how you doing, my brother?
Okay, I was reading actual facts number 26, sex, mind, and slaves.
Okay.
One of the paragraphs says that the ghost race has no soul. They have a spirit inside that acts as a soul.
Mm.
So I'm just wondering, what is soul and how is soul formed and when does the soul
Whoa, okay,
come
that's
into a body?
that's a loaded question. So slow down. So first and foremost, what is soul?
Okay.
Okay, so when we're dealing with soul, there are two portions we as a people that they don't really talk about. We have two portions of what is known as soul. One soul is the breath, okay, of life. And then we have a double portion, which is dealing with the consciousness of a person. Yeah. So within those two contexts, you have soul, which gives you breath of life. And then you also have soul, which gives you the consciousness and awareness, okay, which is connected to your higher self. Okay. Does that make sense? What's your next question after that now?
The spirit.
Okay. So again, when you're going into our culture of ancient times, there's two portions again. You have one's called nafs and one's called I keep forgetting this one. So how to if you could just if you unmute your mic and repeat. Oh, it's nafs and no achaf. So you have hold on a second. Let me just bring up soul, spirit, because always this. Hold on, my brother.
So what was the questions about?
No, it's just the two forms of spirit. Always the other one always miss it.
Oh, there's Ka'a.
Ah, there you go. That's
Yes.
yeah. I'm even looking at Ka'a right now. I keep forgetting. So Ka'a is spirit, and you also have nafs. Okay, Ka'a is dealing with your personality, and nafs is dealing with one is dealing with your spirit, your essence, your conscious essence, and the other one's dealing with your personality. So the nafs is your personality, okay, which is formed when your mother and father produced you. That produced your nafs, okay? And then you have your ka'a, which is dealing with your conscious. Let me just bring it up and I'll read it for you. Right. So you have the soul, and then you have, can I be seen? All right, you can see that. Right. So at the physical death, the body, the ba'a, and the ka'a spirit are separated, and after 70 days are reunited. Right. The unconscious, the soul, and the ether, the conscious being of the spirit person who looks the same, yet the ba soul linking them to the achak ether weakens. That's the other one I needed. I needed the other one. Okay. It's in the other scroll. I didn't want to relate, but essentially you have double portions. Okay, so one is dealing with your consciousness,
The soul.
is the soul, and the other one's dealing with your breath. And then you have the spirit, and then you also have your conscious spirit. So you have two types of consciousness going on, one spirit and one soul, and then you have one that's to do with life and breath and personality. Yeah, so you have nafs, which is personality, and you have ruach, which is breath, dealing with the breath of life. Like the moment when you're born into this world, that first breath that you take into your lungs, that's the ruach.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the ruach. And then you have the actual ba'a, which is the conscious, aware being. I wanted to actually read it so that you can get a better grasp.
It seems to go around because you said the spirit is kaha, and the kaha is conscious spirit. The spirit is kaha. Kaha is conscious spirit. So what again is still spirit?
Yes, personality.
You said it has two parts. And nafs is personality.
Yeah,
And
nafs.
it also has the second part called kaha, which is conscious spirit.
That's right. Yeah.
Or is it consciousness?
Yeah, it's the consciousness. That's right.
So the soul has consciousness and the spirit also has consciousness.
That's right, exactly. But it's like varying degrees of it. You with me? So the varying degrees of your essence, because you're not just a physical being, you're different dimensionals, and different dimensions are composed of different components. So these components are your spirit, personality, spirit, consciousness, soul, breath, soul, consciousness, all the way down to your etheric being, which is known as achach, the etheric self. Yeah, and all of this exists within you as a dimensional being. Does that make sense?
Right. Not completely. If you can give me the name of that book, I would try to get it.
Okay, but just for the sake of others as well, so obviously they might not be able to get the book. So what is it that you're not understanding?
Okay. The ghost race does not have
yeah, I was gonna get to that part. I just wanted you to understand that is the four main principles, and then we'll move on to how the Caucasian or the Mukasu, the Caucasian race don't have a soul. Yeah.
Okay. So we say the spirit has two parts.
That's right.
It's kaha, which is consciousness, another level of consciousness.
That's right.
And naf, which is personality, which you get from your parents.
That's right.
Then the soul, it has a soul, which is like ruah, breath of life, and it has a consciousness, like another level of soul consciousness.
Exactly.
Body consciousness or soul consciousness?
Soul consciousness. So because that is linked into your actual part of you known as your ether, your etheric self. And that etheric self is linked into the mental reservoir, the mental universe.
Okay, yes.
Okay. So now that you understand that there's 4 parts or dualities to your being, what happened with the Adamite or the Caucasian race is that they forfeited theirs. They lost theirs through mixing in with creatures who don't have that. You with me? So when you start to mix out of your natural environment or your natural nature, you forfeit certain parts of you. So the part that they forfeited was them losing their soul, their actual the ba'a. You understand?
They lost their breath of life and the consciousness.
No, the breath of life is breath of life. You always have the breath of life, okay? But the actual consciousness and awareness which links into your etheric being is what they lost connection to, because that etheric being allows you to go to higher dimensions, and you can travel with the soul to these higher dimensions. So they forfeited that when they were mixed in with other creatures.
They were mixing with other creatures, right?
Yes.
You said that.
So when I say other creatures now, know that the Caucasian race or the Adamite race, they were not originally birthed. They were grafted, they were made. I don't know if you're familiar with that story.
Yeah. What's his name, man? The big head fellow, so they call him Big Head.
Oh, you're talking about Yakub, yeah. That's one aspect, but I'm talking about the Adamite seed, not the Yakub's grafted creation. The Adamite seed were created in a laboratory, okay, and they were created by beings known as the Anunnaki, if you're familiar with that, the term Anunnaki. Right, okay.
Yeah.
So the Anunnaki, they used certain creatures on the planet plus their own genetic makeup to create the Adamites. Okay? Are you following so far? Now,
yes, I am.
Now it came to a time where there was interceptions by other extraterrestrials who mixed their DNA with the porcine or the pig, the canine or the dog, and the simian, okay, the monkey.
Yes.
With me? So when they mix these DNA into the Caucasians, because these creatures don't have a soul, they forfeited that right, because it was basically a lesser creature. And lesser creatures who were beast-like in nature and beast-like in mentality. You follow?
Yes.
So in that mixing in, they forfeited their right to traverse or to move into the other higher realms, because their soul got trapped in the lower realms. With me? Because remember, the soul itself is energy, okay? And the energy is required for you to move into different dimensions. That's how powerful your soul is. Your soul is like, imagine like if you use a battery for an example, yeah? The higher, the more potent your battery is, the more you're able to do certain things with that battery. So this particular soul is a soul that has the power of, you could use the sun as an example, the power of the sun. And this power of the sun, certain beings are aware of how potent and powerful your soul is, or the soul is to us as Africans. So when the Adamites were created, they originally had a soul, but when they were how can I put it? They were not upgraded, but more downgraded, because they were mixed in with other creatures on the planet. That made them forfeit that particular portion known as the Ba'a. Does that make sense?
Yeah, okay, there's a follow-up question. Another book is Master Teacher says something like, when he says white person is not necessarily the color, but the mind, something like that.
Okay.
Does it imply that some of these cacao so have souls?
Yes, because not all Mukasu are of the Adamite seed. You with me? There's some beings who are of Mukasu race that some have still got soul. It was just particular race of beings. But because there's been so much mixing in with the Mukasu and the Canaanites and the Cainites, who are the offspring of the Adamites, who also mix their seed in with other creatures on the planet and other extraterrestrials, the whole thing has now become very watered down. So they forfeited their right to actually have that particular portion, that divine portion known as the soul. But yeah, there are Caucasians on the planet that some of them do have a soul. Okay. So what we teach is that don't run off now saying, you know, I can mix in with a Caucasian because your genetics are not the same. You with me? Because some people will take that and say, oh, they said that the white burns go, so that means I can mix with a white person. That's or Caucasian. That's not what we're saying. We're saying that some Caucasians do have a soul because not all the Caucasians come from the same root seed. You with me? Okay. However, during the period of time and the cycles, a lot of mixing has taken place, where even now, most Africans or Nagaru have lost their soul as well. And the way they lose the soul is through living in the image and likeness of the beast. You with me? So the beast we were referring to are talking about the Mukasu, because they are now working, or their essence is now connected to certain disagreeable forces that run this planet. And they're known as the Luciferians. So these Luciferians and these Pleiadians, or who are known as Pleiadians and Arcturians, etc. These are extraterrestrials who are Luciferian forces. So these Luciferian forces, what's happened is that when they created out of the root race, these Adamites, and these Adamites further on down the line went and mixed in with the Cainites, who were your black devils. You know, we talk about the Cain story and the Cain and Abel story. These Cainites were like an offspring of the Adamites. They were still of the seed of the Adamites. And from that mixing in, the Cainites mixed in with the children, the fallen angels, or the fallen ones from known as the 200, the fallen Nephilims. Yeah, so these Nephilims that lived in the land of Nod, the Cainites or the Cain went and lived amongst them. So in them mixing with them, okay, they also forfeited that right. You with me? And ended up becoming black devils. So you have black devils who are in our midst, black devils that we have children with, black devils that are in our communities, etc. You can tell, do you know what I mean, that they're not for the upliftment of our race because of what they do or what they're into. They rather live in the image and likeness of another race. So they're able to convert a lot of us into the image and likeness, or, you know, being in the image and likeness of another race of people known as the Mukasu, or other hybrid children that are children of the Mukasu. Okay. And then living in the image of the beast doesn't just imply just having just straight hair. It's everything that to do with them, you know, whether it's where, you know, with the tattooing our bodies, or where, you know, what else are we doing? Putting light eyes in, or we're working in their system to better their system, you know, or that we think that we belong as part of them. It's all about living in the image and likeness of the beast. And in doing that, you're slowly losing your soul. Your soul starts to deplete over a period of time. Let me try and find that portion. I think is in this one called the conscious being. So I'll read from here. Verse 19 of conscious being. Now in ancient Egypt, this fact is included. You have Pa Khatat, the body, which is linked to Pa Ka'a, the spirit person, or rational and conscious existing being. And you have Pa Ba'a, the soul, which is the emotional. Yeah, so when you're looking at the word emotional, you're looking at the word energy, emotion, okay? So that energy, emotion, that's that sun that allows you to propel you to other dimensions, is your soul. So, which is the emotional and conscious being. And Pa Achach, the etheric being, that is the creative astral being, existing as a link to realities a craft called the blackbird, and is called by a person the real secret name. Verse 20. The achach, etheric being, is in degrees of sacham power. Yeah, so you have degrees of energy or power, which when we were talking about the breath, yeah, we're talking about that the sacham is something that you breathe in. So this particular sacham has degrees of power. So the weakest is 1 ether to 9 ether, and we teach that the Caucasian race are between 5 and 6 ether. Their males are 5 ether, and their females are 6 ether, who have the potential to raise themselves up to 9 ether if they mix in with Nagarus. You with me? However, the Nagaru will actually weaken himself when he does that. So just bear that in mind. For those who want to run off and say, well, they said, let's go mix in. All right, so let's continue. And on the opposite side of the 180 degree of ether, we come in contact with energy from hydrogen to 9 levels, which subdivide by biaps, zeeds, even lighter forms of the hydrogen atom, weightless existence or gas, ghost at H1, or atomic weight of hydrogen. Yeah, so as you can see, as the ether is less, it becomes ghost. You follow?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that ghostational process is when ghost slows down its vibration or manifests itself. It manifests as pale skin, straight hair, blue eyes. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Like the Palladians, exactly. So let me just find another piece here. At the physical death of Pa-Khatat, the body, the Ba'a, soul, and Ka'a, spirit, are separated, and after 70 days are reunited. If they are able to reunite, then Pa-Ba'a, the soul, will continue on to higher planes alone, leaving Pa-Ka'a, the spirit, in all sense of personal attachment to fade, or gradually disintegrate into nothingness. That's a loss of soul to its higher link, Pa-Achach, the etheric self. This is what will happen to all who give or lose their Ba'a soul, as did the Ka'anu, Canaanites, yeah, in Joshua chapter 5, verse 1, and Genesis chapter 6, verse 3, whose etheric being is too weak, only reaching to E6, are not strong enough to fly the heavens, so they do not receive their wings. And it says in verse 30, this for Pata'ite or Nagar Negroid is considered a terrible fate. And that was the reason, the true reason for the ancient funerary rites or opening of the mouths when Sa'at, Orion, was above in the Patat sky, to reunite the Ba'a soul with the Ka'a spirit, to give power enough to radiate and integrate to the state called Osiris. That is, raise the Saham power of Pa-Achach, the ether, all done in a 180 degree operating state, as the DNA double helix are inverse worlds positioned at 180 degrees. Verse 31, the unconscious soul, Ba'a soul, can be stolen, yeah, to control your ether. So the ether is the ether is linked into the mental reservoir and has access to all the let's just say like a vault of information, knowledge. That's what your etheric being has. So once you connect with your etheric being, you're able to unlock many, many realities. Okay, and that's the reason why the master teacher is able to give us so many answers and things, because he has a link to his etheric being, who is known as Yanun. Do you follow?
Yes, very well.
Okay, so from your khatat body while it's still alive, if this happens, the conscious being of the Ka'a spirit person looks the same, yet the Ba'a soul linking them to the Achat ether weakens. The Saham power becomes sluggish, and the person is reduced to the image of 6 ether beings. Yeah? So you start to act.
Is it a conscious process?
Sorry, what's that?
Is it a conscious process? Will the person know that this is happening?
No, they're not even aware. That's the thing. It's an unconscious thing happening because your soul begins to sleep. It starts to sleep. You with me? This is what we're in now. That's why it's called a mental sleep. The spell of Leviathan is a mental sleep where you're not even aware on this level that you are being slowly hypnotized. It's a hypnotic spell. And that hypnotic spell gets you to do things against your true self. You with me? It closes off your third eye. It closes off your mental, your mind to certain realities. And slowly but surely, as it says here, the person looks the same, yet their soul linking them to their ether weakens. The second power becomes sluggish and the person is reduced. So when it says reduced, you start acting and behaving like them, but you think it's normal. How many people have you met who you call coconut or what's the other word? What's the other names that you use? You know what I mean? Jigaboo, all these, Uncle Tom and all of these terms that we use for people who are slowly start talking like, I mean, mate, and what's up, mate? Yeah, and they start talking in that kind of terms. Yeah. So they're slowly, but they don't think nothing else. They think it's okay. They think it's normal that they're talking like that, but they're slowly losing their soul. So verse 33 goes on to say all kinds of drugs, alcohol, caffeine, or alkaloid in tea and coffee and cocoa, as well as nicotine, or this poisonous oily liquid. Yeah, it goes on and on and on. And then it goes about your genital fluids and you know what I mean? Oh, so on and so forth. Yeah, hanging out all night. All of these weakens your etheric being. Does that answer your question?
Very much.
Okay.
And there's the final part to it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Take it home now. How can I prove that I have a spirit, a soul?
Okay. You can prove you have a soul just by merely doing things that is more to the positive. You with me? Because it's a conscious. Yeah, it says it here. It's a conscious. What's consciousness? Conscious is awareness. Yeah. Yeah, awareness and having a conscience, because there's two types. There's the conscious awareness and there's a conscience, which is the ability to differentiate between what's right and what's wrong. That's conscientiousness. You know, when you're being conscientious about something, you with me? It's like you're making a decision whether should I smoke a cigarette or not smoke? Should I take this drug or not take this drug? You're making, and then from the conscientiousness about making that decision is based off of your consciousness being aware of why this thing might have what might occur if you take this particular drug or go down this road or go to this party, etc. You with me? And then you decide, you know what? I'm not gonna go raving and partying with my friends anymore. So you're becoming more conscious, aware of what is happening to your body. And that again goes back to what it's saying. Your soul and your etheric being start to get stronger. And when you start to get stronger and your etheric being starts to get stronger, you're now making a link with your ancestors who are in that realm. Do you understand? Yeah?
Yeah,
I
Mark?
know a lot of good people that have this consciousness and don't go out at night to drink and etc. Does it mean they now have soul? Is that
some of us have soul. It's just that we're not applying it properly. We're giving up our soul when we go to these churches, etc. Because remember, your soul is energy. So when the churches are going in, people going to churches, understand that your body is like a human tuning fork. Yeah, that's what your body is. Your body is actually made up of a resonant tuning fork. So anytime you go into these churches, etc., what's taking place is that they're tuning you to a certain vibrational frequency to open you up. And when you open you up, and when you're opened up, you're allowing certain energies to flow through you, and it's actually being absorbed by disagreeable forces that are around in that area or in that environment, but you're not aware of it. Yeah, so there are brothers and sisters who have soul and mean well, you with me? But at the same time, they're going to the wrong places and they're slowly leaking out their soul to the wrong forces. But my brother here is from 295s and all.
No,
Yeah,
no,
so my brother here gave me some further more reading to read. So this is from Ha-Ke-Hu, okay, his story. And in verse 295, it goes, Musbatu, Sabians. And when you are asked, how do you know for an actual fact that spirit is real and exists? You simply say by way of the newborn Masas babe, it knows to Bakoi cry before taught. It knows to Basum smile before being taught. And it knows its Mudatat mother without being told. The spirit has natural instinct based on from the Mudatat mother and Mudadu father's DNA, which themselves, all 24,000 genomes, do not interact in this Tapao world. Yeah, so that's another, the mother's teacher, again, is alluding to the fact that our 24,000 genomes is interacting in other worlds as well. Yeah, but it do not interact in this Tapao world, not all of them. Verse 298, for a newborn to know these things is spiritual. And if they ask you, how do you know the Ba'a soul is real and exists? You say, as that Mukhradu child grows around or away from either Manash parent, no matter how far apart, or even if the growing Mukhrad child never meets one or the other Manash parent, the one with the Mukhrad child will see the other in not just how Mukhrad child looks, yet also how it acts. It dislikes and dislikes, its habits, good and bad, its emotional attitude. That is Ba'a soul. You see what I'm saying? So the emotional attitude, as I was saying, what you decide to do with your action, you with me, based off of your emotions. Is it desire? Is it lust? Or is it a higher calling? Do you know what I mean? And these are the things that, unfortunately, our brothers and sisters in religion define as God or Allah, etc., that this higher calling, but it's not. It's actually talking about that your soul is connected to your ancestors, and they're the ones that guide you. You with me? If you align yourself with them. If you align yourself with other than your ancestors, you can be led astray or they can lead your soul. So let me continue. Verse 300. So, ta'uwa, yes, and ka'a, spirit, and the ba'a, soul, are real, exist, and is passed on as is muakhakh, mukhwan, etheric being, the overall you that is unique. And as to your akal mind, remember, is not mine. That means you don't own it. Unless you invent something no one else ever did, or do something never done, or say something never said. For the akal mind is linked to a reservoir of mental to which all thinking muskhasu persons feed. Okay? Do I read on? Yeah, let me read on. Verse 303. All persons, places, and things, all fakar, art, thoughts, and thinking are linked to the mental plane. Only when you have a unique idea that you put together a formula that is unique by using things in the mental reservoir that it becomes my idea or mine. So this is the workings of Pa Akal, the mind, Pa Khatat, the body, Pa Ka'a, the spirit, Pa Ba'a, the soul, which all make up your Muakhakh, Muhwan, etheric being. And how do you know they exist? In the Kahin, Mamtax, matrix, divine matrix. So Musbatu Sabians, say and mean, I am who I am, and think you are what you become. That is the Salat rule of Fatah natural Fatah, natural nature. Yeah? So I think that kind of like sums it up, unless you want to probe deeper or further.
Damar, sorry to cut you, but there's a few on Zoom. Jackie's had her hand up for a while.
All right. The name of that book is called Ha-Ke-Hu, which means his story. His story. Okay. That publication can be found at nashat.co.uk if you want that book. It's a very, very good book, actually. Very, well, all the books written by the master are very good. But I'm going to jump now because we do have questions, I've been told, in on Zoom and others. So
Yeah.
if
Jackie, did you want to go ahead and ask your question?
Right. Who's next?
Jackie,
Jackie? Hi, Jackie.
did you
Rahubat.
want to unmute your mic and ask your question?
Yes, thank you.
Mhm.
I was wondering when a 9 ether and a 6 ether comes together, what happened to their soul from the result of them having a child together?
Okay, just so when 9 ether and 6 ether have a child together?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so when you're saying 9 ether and 6 ether, you're talking about Mukasu or a lower, so a hybrid type of species like a Dravidian or somebody like that, but in particular referring to a Mukasu female and a Nagaru male or vice versa. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay. The mixture that's taking place is that you're exchanging different etheric energies. So as we explained earlier in one of the books, is that when you mix energies together, you produce a certain mentality and also a type of offspring, you with me, who obviously, being that they're mixed, their mentality is offset by two factions or two type of forces that are operating within that particular child. So the master explained that if the child is a female, from a female Mukasu, who's the mother, their link will be back to the Canaanites or going all the way back to the Pleiadians. And then if you have they also have a portion of them which is also linking back to the Nataru. So they have they'll sometimes end up having a dual personality because of that. And there's a war that goes on or conflict that goes on in them. You know, some you've noticed, if you do know any person who's of mixed race parentage, they either lean to one side or lean to the other, or they sometimes bipolar. You with me? Sometimes they like hot and spicy food, or want to get into the reggae and the rhythm and the blues and the soul. And then there's other times they switch and be listening to punk rock and all that kind of stuff. You with me? So they're flitting between the two, which is operating within them as a conflicting energies. So really and truly, it's not advisable to really mix your seed because of the mentality that it produces and also the conflict on the child that it produces. It could be a mental state issue that could happen because of that. It could be also a genetic traits that also will express themselves if you mix with a Mukasu female or male. You with me? Now, on the flip side, if it's a Mukasu male and then there's a Nagaru female, what happens is the Nagaru female, she drops all the way down to the Nagaru male's vibrational frequency or ether, which would be 5 ether. And in her doing that, she becomes what the master explained as a wanted, meaning that she will operate on behalf of the Mukasu race at all times, because now she becomes like a bitten Dracula. You know, when Dracula bites his prey, and then what's the word they use? There's a term that they use when Dracula bites their prey. They become something. Do you know what I mean? But I've forgotten the name. But yeah, but essentially that's what happens. So is yeah, it could use minion. Could use that's another word for them, minion. But so what's happening is that really it's not advisable, okay, that we should be mixing outside of our race because of the impact that it can have on us. You with me? Or the child for really and truly. It's really the child that really suffers. It's not really the adults as much. It's really the child who has conflicting mental issues, etc., or disease traits, etc., bipolar. All these things are happening within the child because we didn't take the time to study each other. Do you know what I mean? As fully grown adults, understanding the diseases or the inherited traits that we have from our foreparents. You with me? So one of the things that we practice in Wu-Sabat is called something called eugenics. That when we meet a person who we're with, we check out their background, their family, their DNA, their blood, etc. You with me? And this is what was done in ancient times, purely because when you have two people who are not of the same, like for instance, race or also of the same star sign, okay, because that also has an influence on the child as well, with me. And these influences impact on their mental state. So when you read the book of Genesis, where it talks about the sons of God coming down, and then they took the daughters of men and produced children, and then it goes on further into Genesis chapter 3, where it says that the evil that is evil continued. I think, let me get to, if you can find the verse on quotes. Can someone find it in one of the Blue Letter Bible, Genesis chapter 6, verse 6, I think 5 to 6? We'll talk about the mentality of the Adamites was just evil continued. While we're looking for that. So essentially, my sister, if it does that answer your question or it doesn't?
Does that child have a soul?
Right. So that child, depending again on if the mother is a Nagaru, yes. If the child is of the other way, because the mother is the one that has the mitochondria.
Okay.
With me. Yeah. So the child would inherit a soul.
Okay.
Okay. However, like I said, the soul is that portion that connects you to the etheric realm. So if the child is of mixed parentage, they have two factions going on and it's conflicting to the soul. Yeah, it can affect the soul as well, in which way it how can I say, how it acts on this realm, how it behaves, how it thinks, etc. on this realm. Because as we read, the soul is a conscious, aware being. And what you don't want to do is have the soul in a state where it doesn't know which course of action to take, because it's based off its different polarities that are affecting it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 6 verse 5.
Is it 6:5? Yeah. Can you read it? Did you find it? Oh, okay. Go on. Can you read it? You can read it. Yeah, read it. Yeah. So this is referring to the Adamites, okay, and the mixing in.
The Lord saw how great the wickedness of the human race had become on the earth, and that every inclination of the thoughts of the human heart was only evil all the time.
Yeah, well, it's changed a lot, but essentially you get the gist. Yeah, so it's evil continually, so all the time, continually. Yeah, so that's what happens. It's not just a thing that, oh, would they have a soul? Yes, but it's what happens with the personalities that affect the soul. You with me? The conflicting dualities, because you're dealing with genes here, and genes have personality, and that personality is linked into ancestors. So the ancestors can affect the way the child thinks and behaves, which ultimately affects the soul. So yes, you may have a soul, but then as we read from Conscious Being, you can be losing your soul because of the things that you practice based off of your ancestral lineage. Okay, so yes, and be prepared that there are consequences when you mix. Okay, so I hope that answers your question. I can see.
Yes.
Thanks for sharing. Is that you? Okay, right. In terms of genetics on a spiritual level, if mating is best between similar individuals with similar backgrounds, energetic traits, why does the sickle cell disease occur? I've heard that this disease was created due to genetic warfare, preventing those that are alike from mating. Okay, so sickle cell is one of the traits that the master explained, so that some people are born with it. Not everybody is born with it, but it actually protects you from the mosquito parasite. So that's one of the reasons for the sickle cell. Okay, so most people that have sickle cell don't actually have the don't get malaria, or are prone not to get malaria. That's as far as he went on that. But why that particular trait, he hasn't expanded further on that trait, on why we as Nagaru predominantly have it. If they mix by sexual relationships and don't have a child, what happens then? Well, as I was explaining, that each of your, the essence of you is a matrix. What I mean by matrix is that there's interconnecting dimensions within your being. Okay. So when and you also have what is known as your chakra system. Okay. So the Nagaru has 9 chakras or energy centers. The Mukasu only goes up to 5 or 6 in energy centers. Okay. And what takes place is that you're exchanging vital energy each time you're mixing your fluids, etc. So having that mixing taking place, the Nagaru starts to lose energy. It's being leached. Okay. So you start becoming less and less of yourself as a supreme being, which, as we were reading from Conscious Being, I'll read it again. Yeah, so it says here, this is what will happen to all who give or lose their soul, as did the Canaanites in Joshua, whose etheric being is too weak. You see, so your etheric being, through mixing in with another race, becomes too weak, and you're only able to reach a certain level, and you're not strong enough to fly the heavens. So they do not, so you won't receive what they talk, when it's talking about the wings, it's talking about your potency, your soul ability to traverse other dimensions. You lose that right. You lose the ability to do that. You get trapped here in this realm. You with me? So being that we are not of this realm, we're connected to higher planes of existence. But when you're trapped here, you're in a form of hell. Earth is a form of hell to us, because we're trapped in a mental state. Okay. Let's go to update from Babianun. It's called the immigration. So time is an illusion framed in the Akal minds of the Muhmanu human species on Makab Matha, planet Earth. In their mind's eye, it moves forward linear, when in actual fact, Hakak al-Hakak, it does not really exist. Ma'alai, Ilyun has no birth date record known. It seems to have always existed. Masbat, Sirius, is 7.6 trillion years old, based on the time frame framed out by humanoids on the Makak planet, now called Matha, Earth. Masa'ah, Orion, is 5.5 trillion years old, based on the same calculations framed by humanoids or the Makab planet, now known as Mata'ah, Earth. The Milky Way, 4.5 billion years old, and grew its Shamash-at suns, Ahat moons, Makab-at planets, and many forms of physical life. You, the original Khamem, Salah, black race of beings, are here as supreme beings, the very first humanoids to grow here from the Yamam Sea. It was transported and transplanted here on this Makab planet, a once water planet now called a Matha, earth or soil or ground, Makab planet, while 3/4 of it is covered underwater. So it is still in actual fact a water planet, H2O, which is 2 hydrogen atoms and oxygen atoms. H2O is mostly an aquarium. So this Makab planet, after its reconstruction, was suitable for you as an aquatic being, while in the flesh originally 9 different etheric species or beings. Your original home was Masbat, Kabab, Nasak, Sirius star system, with its 3 seeable suns, Sabat A, Sabat B, Sabat Ko. Each Shamash sun had many Makab-at planets and Aha'at moons. In Wakut time, as you call existence, Sabat Ko, Sirius star C, was collapsing, and you all had to be relocated to and in upon other Makabat planets. Your Zara'ah seed was designated to Masa'ah, Kakab Nasak, Orion star system, at the Hassan belt of the three sons of Masa'ah, Orion, the haven, to harbor refugees. The religious persons call haven heaven. And after dwelling there for many millions of years, you were ready to be transported to this, the Makab planet, now called Matha Earth, in this galaxy, the Milky Way. The wicked and evil Salar race of 6 etheric beings, grafted and made by those Mukmeu aliens from Draco, Arcturus A and Arcturus B, and even later involvement by Mukwanu beings from Makma Pleiades, who tampered with the created being's DNA and created a Salar race of Chimera, human beast. This new Sanafu species and Awahan first and Athan second species, called Muadamu, Adamites, are doing all in their Sakhamat powers to try and replicate and duplicate the works of the original Mukheye or creators here on this Makab planet. The results are the very Makab planet, and its involvement is dying in all the original Hayat life forms. So the Musyad Hayan Matha extraterrestrial visitors are again transporting and transplanting new forms of higher life here that will be able to survive the coming catastrophe, and in fact has already begun here on this Makab planet called Matha Earth. Some on the Rasayat lands, others in the Yamam'at seas and Hawaii air. The evil Salar race of 6 etheric beings are coming to realize that their own Muslafu ancestors have lied to them about themselves and their false history, and are going mad and now wish to end all Hayat life on this Makab planet with themselves, as they now know of their own 6,000-year lifespan and its end. So to sum it up, okay, our job or our work here is to raise ourselves, elevate ourselves, and so that we can be transported back to where we originally came from. So while here, we're trapped, and we keep trapping ourselves, okay, by way of our own minds and how our minds work, and also trapped by the 6 ether forces who have created the different spells which you now call religion. Okay, well, was now called religion. So these are the hell on earth. Yeah, we're actually trapped in a hell on earth, and our job is to raise ourselves to the point where we become supreme enough as etheric beings to then leave this planet or be transported out of here. Okay, so I hope that answers more of your question. My sister, are you there? She's gone.
Zamal, sorry, what scroll was you
Oh,
reading?
you're here. Wait a second. Wait a second, Amakuke. Sorry, my sister, what did you say?
No, that was me, Zamal.
Oh, is she gone?
I was asking what scroll, sorry. I missed
This
it.
scroll is an update.
Oh, it's an update.
From the master teacher.
Okay. So they can find that on the United Sabians worldwide?
You should be able to, yeah.
Oh, okay. Wow.
From there, yeah. Okay, but is the sister there? Because I don't think she's there. I don't think she's gone. Okay, not to worry. Okay, Amakuket, please. I'm inviting you to speak.
Last month I was in Nunhead going to the cash point, and I filmed a blue alien walking in the sky about 10 p.m. I filmed it on my phone. Can you tell me why I saw that, please? Another man saw the alien in the sky. I filmed it. Can you tell me why I was at the right place at the right time? Tower attack.
Like we've always said, my brother, we don't give answers based on people's experiences. Okay, that'll be wrong of us to do that. That was your own personal experience. If you're able to capture it on footage, that's absolutely fine. You can share it with the rest of the family, but we do not share or try to interpret or explain anything. The only being that's able to do that if it is what you saw and can probably confirm for you it might be the master teacher, but you know, we have to get him out so that he can give us all these answers that we've been, all these questions about experiences and life and things like that. He's given us enough, you know, in the books, but when it comes to personal experiences like that, we do not answer those. Okay, and I'm pretty sure, and I'm pretty sure, my brother, you should know that by now. You've been on the course long enough. Yeah. Okay. Antaka Theodore Forsama. Okay.
Jamal, there's another question on Zoom.
Oh
Do you
yeah,
want
I
to
see
take
it.
it?
What means if a supposed Caucasian race have a type O blood, and if they mix with a B plus type blood, what does it mean? It absolutely means that they just cross genetics traits of B and O blood. It doesn't really mean anything. It doesn't mean that they're bad or good. It just means that they have that blood type. You know, the original blood types were of particular genealogy, but now due to the multiple mixing in that's taking place over 6,000 years and more, it would be wrong for me to then say to you, this particular person belongs to this race of people and this particular race. What is being explained to us is that through your genealogy and ancestry.com websites, these institutions on online, find your ancestry, etc., they're looking for a particular race or species in the genetic pool so that they can either take them as food or transport them to other worlds, you with me, to become their new slave workers. So all these ancestry.coms and I don't know, there's another one called Gene, something like other. There's got different ones that are out there. Okay, these extraterrestrials, they're using that as a front so that they can check the genetics traits of who belongs to what race and what, etc. But I can't tell you that an O plus blood or B plus means is a good or bad thing. You with me? Because there's been so much mixture. So let me read the next part of that question. So what's my questions? Okay. Yeah. So yeah, that's essentially it. You can find more of the A blood, A positive, B positive, etc. The original blood types from Partak Raw. I mean, I can always bring it up and read it if you don't have a copy, and I can read it for everybody to actually understand what I'm trying to talk about. So let's just go and yes, sir. I'm just gonna read this and then you can ask your question. I'll bring you on stage. So Partak Raw is called right, here you go. So you go to chapter 9 of Partak Raw, pages 1 to 5, refers to the races, and it talks about the Rh negative blood types. Remember, these are the original ones that were created with these blood types, okay? But as I stress again, there's been a lot of mixture. So now the extraterrestrials are looking at your DNA strands, and there's certain what they call what's the name? What's it called again? Not traits, but there's actually on the DNA, there's this markers, genetic markers. Yeah, they've got genetic markers on the actual DNA, and these genetic markers allows them to determine who you are, whether you're of them or you're of the Nagaru species. So it's no longer just about just the blood type. Let me just read from where it says the Vikings. So this is coming from Partak Raw, okay? And there are many subgroups by accepted Rananat names, yet the same race and people, Germanic Austria, which is also called the United Kingdoms of Anglo-Saxons, Franks, Romans, Greeks, Turks, and others, or Yarapu European roots, or from the Satu Sanafu, 6 species of the Muadamu Salal Adamite race, from Cro-Magnon to name their 6 separated genetic roots on Earth who was created with the Rh negative blood types of A negative, B negative, AB, and O negative to spread and kill those who were on Earth millions of years before the Adamite race. Those of the Rh positive blood types are A, B, AB, and O positive, those originally of the green zone Nupu. So again, what the master is explaining here is that there were two zones that were created to keep them separated and for them to live according to their own natural ways or unnatural ways, whichever the case may be. But unfortunately, that got destroyed, these zones, and that's why the mixing in became much more prevalent. Okay, so that's that part there. And then let me just find another, talks about the different Rh negative blood types that will kill Rh positive off. So they seek to convert other races. Africans, 9 etheric people. Aborigines, 8 etheric people. Indians, 7 etheric people. They did not seek to convert the Asians, 3 etheric people, because they originally lived in the red zone, Zupu. So that was the other zone called Zupu, red zone. And the Chinese have Rh negative blood types already, yet many unknowing, confused Chinese convert to Christianism and Muslimism these days. This is the war you see in religion to win over Rh positive persons to Rh negative blood types. They, the Adamites, seek to mix DNA by way of the genetic kiss or fluid exchange, Matau semen, Manan sperm, or saliva or interracial marriage to exchange DNA and blood. So the Caucasoids present their Zazastatu women on display sexually. Okay, and moving on. Verse 13. Adam was Rh negative blood type O. Eve was Rh positive blood type O. This was the plan of the extraterrestrials. I'm just trying to find more on that. This one called the blood. Okay. So in the other one of the chapters, in chapter 11, okay, it's called Pa Damam, the blood. And it reads from, it gives you a chart. Yeah, so it says here in verse 28, it's always been about blood. Theirs is of aliens, Rh negative blood types versus earthlings, Rh positive blood types. Remember, the original root people on this planet, the indigenous people, were the Nagaru race who were on Earth. So that's the original earthlings who are Rh positive. Today, Mukasu Caucasoids must eat meat. Not that part really. Let's see, there you go. Right. So blood types. Brown, 7 ether Indians, and blood types, black, 9 ether Africans. Yeah, so this is more referring to the Adamites when they were being created or, you know, grafted. But in essence, the Africans have the positive blood type, and the Asians and Mukasu have the negative blood type, okay? So that's just dealing with blood types, not necessarily the true nature of them. Yeah, so you have here Rh positive, and Nana was Rh negative, and Yatiti, who was the father and the parents of Cain, and Cain was Rh negative. So you see these blood types have now basically are in all of us now. So they are using these modern day genetic institutions or companies to find these blood types and also find their genetic markers. Because once you're able to find and identify the genetic marker, you're able to then find out what species you're actually of, and what, and obviously these extraterrestrials, they're more advanced than us in technology, and they use these companies to actually isolate who's who on the planet. Okay, so the masters actually advise us not to use them. You know, even though you can do, no one's saying not to. He's not saying don't do it. But he's saying that be careful. That's what they're doing. They're trying to find who's who on the planet. Okay. It's entirely up to you. Because I know a lot of people want to find out their origin, etc. Yes. You have a question? Okay, all right. Before you, there's a question. No, hold it, Mike. There's a question on Clubhouse. Yes. Ask the question. Who's on Clubhouse? Have a question? Okay, go ahead.
Same sex. It's taking DNA and spirits. You can take DNA and spirits from sex and even kisses. Then somewhere else talks of there's a way to clean yourself. It doesn't explain how. So how do you clean yourself of all this?
Sorry, so mixing your DNA, there's a way to clean yourself from when you mix your DNA. Is that what you're asking?
Clean. Yes.
It's all about the foods that you eat, the meditations and the chanting that you do. Okay, the types of thoughts that you think, that all helps towards cleansing your DNA. So what the masters always taught us is you have to turn yourself inside out and outside in. You with me? So from the inside out is getting rid of certain mentalities, certain thoughts, certain behaviors, etc. And outside in is again dealing what you intake in, whether it's mental, spiritual, or physical. You with me? And what you put within your body, okay, helps to cleanse your spirit, because remember, your spirit is in your blood. So if you're able to purify your blood, there are many purification elixirs out there. Okay, don't think you're just working on a biological or physiological level. You with me? With the chanting and the prayer and the fasting and things that you do and the taking of these medications, that's also helping to cleanse these spirit forces from your being. Does that make sense?
Yes, I'd like to know where to get them on this food.
Well, you can, again, Nashat is a place where is a holistic place. So we have all the things there. But where are you? Are you actually calling from your home country or
Manchester?
Manchester? So find a natural shop or a holistic shop that sells bitters, that sells blood cleansing things. I mean, one of the blood cleansers is known as burdock. Burdock is a blood cleanser. Yeah. You also do your fasting rituals. So we have been instructed and guided to fast on certain days of the week. So if it's like your weekday, the master said that fast on the day of the week, day of the week that you were born on. That's one of the things that he's guided us to do. We also have a monthly fast, which is we do it for 3 days. Those who choose to, don't, again, there's no requisite. There's no like you have to do it because you're gonna get, some kind of hellfire raining down on you. The master is a guide and a warner. Always bear that in mind. So what he guides you is your own mental state, your consciousness level that will allow you to make the choices that you make. And obviously the consequences comes from that. So if you are advocate of Wu-Sabat and you know what's right for you, you're gonna get hit stumbling blocks. Everybody does. You're gonna forget some days. I'm just keeping it real because I know it happens to me. I try to be as strict on myself and disciplined, but I forget sometimes. You with me? So, but in the essence of it, no, yeah, 3 days, 3 days, no, 3 days out of the month. Yeah. So in the month, at the end of the month, yeah, for 3 days a week, you fast.
Any 3 days.
Any 3 days. I mean, really should be the beginning of the month. You with me? So what you're doing is you're actually resetting your biological clock, and you're also recalibrating your clock, and you're recalibrating your DNA when you do that.
The same thing, Elijah.
Basically, yeah, how to eat to live, yeah, because it's off of the same principle. Everything that the messenger said was right and exact. It's just that he didn't have all the information. Just you with me, yeah. So that's done, and then also we have our solstice fast, which is 9 days, which happens from the summer solstice, 9 days before the summer solstice. And then we have our winter solstice, which again happens 9 days before the winter solstice. Okay. So I think it was roughly about the 13th of June this year. That was the fast from then to the 21st. And then after the 21st, you then carry on with a light meal and work your way back to normal. So these are rituals that we would do, be with me, to cleanse our blood, because we knew that it's not just a physiological thing that's taking place. You're also vibrating on a different frequency. And in that, doing that, because there are forces that can't inhabit your body at certain vibrational frequencies. It's just like a disease. If you have a disease and you took a medicine, that disease finds it a struggle to sustain itself in your body. Likewise, with the spiritual aspect, there's certain frequencies and vibrations that you can get to where certain diseases or entities cannot reside in your being anymore. They would have to leave. You with me? Okay, so it's just...
when you say fast, is it a normal 20 full day fast, or is it like
it's
one day a meal?
No. It's up to you. You can either do a liquid fast. If you've never done it before, I wouldn't advise a dry fast. Oh, okay. Well,
that was not eating. I was eating once a day.
Oh, okay. So then it's
Would that be a fast?
Yeah. That's a fast still. You're still fine, because that's the name. The word itself is breakfast, isn't it? Break your fast. Breakfast. So
right now I eat once a day, every day.
Oh, that's very good. That's very good. Keep it up. You with me? And sorry?
Is that fasting?
Yeah, you're fasting, because what it is you can have intermittent fasting. You can do fasting for 9 hours. You can do fasting for 13 to 15 hours. You can do fasting 24 hours. It's entirely up to you and the type of discipline you have for your body. You with me? And then obviously there's other types of fasting. If you do extreme fasting, we don't advocate that. We don't advise that. The masters never said do extreme fasting where you're doing it 30 days, like where they do the fast of Ramadan and things like that. You with me? And then you literally can't touch anything. That's just foolhardy and silly. So what these always advocate is liquid fast. You with me? So for instance, you have miso. Miso is a form of paste that you can purchase, that you can break your fast with. And miso has all the what do they call it? Food, the gut thing. Yeah, probiotics, yeah. The biotics that will reset your system, because your stomach and your gut is your second brain. I don't know if you knew about that. Okay, yeah. Study the stomach and the gut. It's actually your second brain. It has serotonin, okay, and melatonin that it produces, and those hormones can actually go up to your brain and make you more alert, and your cognitive awareness and things like that take place. So there's a lot going on in your gut and your brain that are connected. Yeah, so
Somebody said your first brain is your head, second brain is your heart.
Okay.
Somebody says so.
No, but yeah, don't believe me. Everything we're saying here, don't believe. Go and check it out. Go and check it out. So, any more questions on? You're welcome, my brother.
I have a question.
I have a book full of questions.
No, there's one question online. Go on, my brother.
I'm currently fasting, and I'm trying to connect with my etheric body and my descendants, and I have struggled doing that. You know how to do that?
Sorry, my brother. Could you just repeat that question again? I could just about hear you.
I'm fasting right now, like fruit fasting. You hear me?
Yeah.
And I'm trying to connect with my etheric body and discipline my spirit and strengthen my and connect with my descendants. Do you know how I could possibly do this?
Well, the fact that you actually stated off that you're doing that already. Okay, you're doing that already, my brother, because what it is your etheric being is linked to your soul. Okay, your etheric being, the etheric portion of you. I'll read again from conscious being. Let me read again from conscious being. Right. So conscious being explains, the master explains it like this. Verse 19. Now in ancient Egypt, this fact is included. You have ha-khatat, the body. So we know that you're doing a physical ritual at the moment. You're fasting. That's a physical thing you're doing, right? Okay, that's linked to that's your body. That's a khatat, which is linked to your pa-ka'a, the spirit person. Yeah, so your body and spirit are connected. They're linked. Okay, that's your rational and conscious existing being. So that's what rationalizes things. You know, should I do this? Should I not do that? Etc. You know, I think this is right. You're rationalizing. Okay. Now, and you have your soul, which is the emotional and conscious being. Okay, that's the aware part of you now. All right, and that's the energy part of you that makes that get stronger each time and radiates stronger like a sun. That's why they refer to the portion of your body that is intertwined in near your navel, known as the solar plexus. You with me? Because that's where your soul resides. That energy is constantly whirling and whirring, and it's sending out energy, etheric energy through your body. So when you're fasting, you're actually doing that to your body each time. You're strengthening your soul. Okay, so that conscious being and part the etheric being, the creative astral, that's your creative side now. Okay, is existing as a link to realities, a craft. So what are these realities? These realities are your ancestors, worlds that exist, etc. You know, different color states of existence, dimensions. These are the true realities, quantum physics. Yeah, a craft called the blackbird. So you are an etheric being that is actually a craft. You can turn yourself into a craft when you learn the principles of being able to do your chanting, etc. And learning it right, you're able to open up your etheric cord, which expands and you can actually traverse and move into other dimensions and realms. Best done together as a group and not done as an individual, because as the masters always explained, you can get trapped as an individual, but as a group and through the guidance of who's being taught to us, we're able to then go and traverse, you know, safely through those different dimensions. Okay, so that blackbird, that etheric being, called by a person the real secret name. Verse 20, the achach, etheric being, is in degrees. Okay, so what you're doing through your fasting and your rituals and your chanting, etc., you're raising your degrees of power from the weakest 1 ether to 9 ether. And on the opposite side of the 180 degrees of ether, you have, okay, what's known as the elements, okay, the hydrogen all the way down to oxygen, etc. So these 9 levels, okay, they even, like I said, quantum physics, they subdivide. They subdivide into lighter forms, okay, and weightlessness, or what we know as weightlessness, okay, to E1, etc. So connecting with your ancestors exist on that side of those realities, those etheric side, okay, the subatomic side. And being that they're on that side, the more you're doing your chanting, your discipline, your spirituality, etc., you are raising your etheric vibration, and you're strengthening not just yourself, but you're also strengthening your ancestors who are connected to you. Okay? And they in turn can strengthen you. And in doing that, you are able to then communicate with them what is referred to as quantum entanglement. Okay? Because now a quantum entanglement means an atomic structure or an atom, no matter how far it is apart from each other, okay, still have a connection. So no matter how far or distant your ancestors are, in relative time, that is, okay, or relative space, you with me, dealing with the different levels of dimension, they are able to connect with you on an etheric level. Okay, and then the guidance from them will come through slowly. But you have to obviously, through the fasting and meditation, etc., listen to them as opposed to speaking. Just after you've done your chants, etc., sit in solitude and calmness and just listen for the voices, okay, of your ancestors who either guide you or they communicate through you in different ways. So it's not necessarily going to be a voice that you're going to hear, but it might be a some kind of sign or some kind of, you know, connection to something, etc. So you have to look out for the signs and be conscious and know that it is working. And I mean, many people have attested to the fact that it's working. So it's not just a made up thing. Okay, does that help you, my bro? Are you there? Zamal? Reggie, is that you? Can you hear me? No? Okay, we'll move on. We'll move on to the next question on Nashat. What is the significance of seeing symbols in your mind's eye? Yesterday, I was seeing a bright pink 3 with a long, sorry, I can't read that. With a long tail appearing. I drew it down. Would that be a message from my ancestors? Who asked that question? Dark awakening. Honestly, dark awakening, as we said earlier, we do not interpret other people's visions or dreams, etc. It would be wrong for us to do that, and we've always been advised and guided not to explain those things which we have no experience of ourselves. If you, like you say, you've written it down, write it down and see the significance it means in your life. Yeah, but we're not here to try or attempt to interpret or explain anybody's dreams, etc. It'd be wrong for us to do that. Okay, you just have to be patient with those images, and and it will, if it's correct or true, it will reveal itself to you in eventually. I see there's 2 more messages, so let me just go jump to them. Question: how should Nwabian females take care of their kinky hair, as many use fake hair and chemicals? That's a tough one. For me to say, do this to your hair, do that to your hair, just look after the best that you can. You with me? If you feel it's too much of a struggle to, you know, work with it, etc. The master teacher, he had most of the sisters on the line, they cut their hair because it's manageable. You know, that'll be probably, I mean, you have to really ask the sister that, how is it for them? How does it work? Sister, I'm going to put you on the spot. How is it for you?
Oh, another one. I guess
Sorry, it's the volume. Just hold the volume.
I would say that you would have to start with trying to see what works for you, in the sense of, I think people just get into this plethora of just getting a load of products that they see other people using and they think, yeah, that works for me. And someone say, well, I can't directly tell you, okay, this is going to work for you. Some people use coconut oil on their hair. My hair hates that stuff, right? So you'd have to try it for yourself. For example, my best friend is aloe vera, shea butter, and castor oil. And that's it. That's the end of my hair care regime type of thing.
Different for everybody.
Some people opt for like things like sister locks or locks because they feel like it's easier for them to look after their hair that way, especially if you want to wash your hair extremely frequently. Locks is usually your better, your best option. Again, you can cut your hair if you feel like that's easier for you. And then also just keep in mind like what you're able to do, like how much effort you're able to put into it and willing to put into it, and then just decide how you're going to arrange around that. I think people have this idea in their minds that Nagaru here is hard to look after. And I think, personally, I think that's the narrative that they play on us, because they give us things that are not made for us. They give us things that they know will not work for our phenotypes. And then they go, oh yeah, well, yeah, it's something wrong with your hair, not with our product, kind of thing. And it's like, you need to realize that you need to step away from all of those things that were not made for you, find out what works for you, and then you'll soon learn to realize that it is not as difficult as they perceive it. I think the first step is to actually stop telling yourself that it's hard. And then make a conscious effort to just be you, kind of thing. I wouldn't recommend the fake hair, because a lot of the fake hair has chemicals as well. If you do need to add something to your hair, use yarn or like some sort of cotton, something that's not going to damage the hair with whatever they put on it. And yeah, just learn your hair, kind of thing, because it's not like we're the only race of people that do a lot of stuff to their hair. Caucasians do a lot of things to their hair, they just don't talk about it because they keep it behind closed doors and quiet, and they don't want to express their struggle to us because that makes them look weak. So why are we doing the same thing? If that makes sense.
Yeah. Very, very, very succinct explanation. Appreciate that. Yeah, so I hope you got it from a feminine. You with me? So, you know, they're the next teachers, or they are the teachers. So we hope to see you up here soon. Okay, so I hope that answered your question. And is hopefully clear. So yeah, in general, you know, just take your time. If you really want to start again, cut the whole hair off, and then maybe start from there. If you're not conscious of, you know, not being looked at in any way. So the next question here on Zoom is, what is your opinion on gallstones being removed? We don't have an opinion. We try to avoid, or we do avoid having opinions. We deal with facts. Wu-Sabat is all about the facts, you know, researching, educating yourself on knowledge about factual things that will benefit you, benefit your race, benefit your culture, etc. So, you know, we're just putting that in there. So gallstones, well, really and truly, you have to just research what they are and go from there. Your gallbladder, okay, is one of those things, what they call organs, that was originally used, okay, in your time when we swam in the waters, okay. It was used for buoyancy, okay. So you had your gallbladder, your spleen, and what's the other one? There's another one as well, appendix, okay. There were certain portions of our biological system that we no longer use anymore and have become rudimentary. Okay, so we don't use them as much, and they find an excuse to remove these things because they don't understand. But having gallstones in there ends up being a product of bad diet, you with me, and accumulation of drugs. Because what the body tends to do is, if the body can't find an avenue to eliminate certain byproducts from itself, it will dump it in your lymph nodes, into your bones, etc. This is where you get like people having arthritis and all of these things, because the body's trying to actually remove it, but because it doesn't have the way out, the exit places, it will deposit it, and that's where you end up having people having gout, etc. Because the uric acid, for instance, that builds up, okay, gets calcified and it hardens, and this is where you end up having the gallstones in those places, because they've actually hardened or calcified over a period of time. But this is also from, you know, diet. If you understand how diet, you know, your body works and what foods not to put in there, you'll less likely have certain ailments. And obviously these maladies and ailments is based on really just bad diet, you know. So I'll leave it there, but study what gallstones are, you know, the accumulation of them, and then what you do, you try to find what can work to actually break them down. Or if push comes to shove, I'm not a doctor here or anything, but the worst case scenario, obviously, you have to go to the hospital, get it checked out so that it can be removed. Okay. But in the sense of removing the actual gallbladder, that's a different matter. The gallbladder, once it's removed, okay, it means that you're not going to be able to function on other, I can say that there's other realms of existence or other places where your gallbladder will be needed to be used. In that saying that, the masters also explain that those things can be regrown back. Okay, so if you were to take out like from something like your tonsils or your appendix or your, your spleen, etc., these things can be replaced. Okay, that's what the masters explain to us. Okay, because the Natharu have the ability to get these things regrown. You can even, when you get to a certain state of abilities that we do have, we can regrow limbs. We can regrow certain portions of our organs. Okay, this is not something that is not a feat not impossible, because we just don't know the science and the formula to be able to do it yet. But we have a being that's teaching us the science and the formulas. Okay, and first and foremost, you have to understand what the morphogenetic field does. If you read about the morphogenetic field is where your thoughts, okay, once you're able to put your thoughts into that morphogenetic field, by way of its encoding, okay, will then provide the necessary realities or vestiges, etc., things that you can actually do in this realm physically. Okay, so you have an energy realm, and that energy realm comes down into a field, and that field is what is known as the morphic field. And if you look at the word morph, it's talking about changing. Okay, so you have the ability to actually tap into this field, and then it can help you to regrow certain things, but you have to understand that these realities do exist. You have to embrace those realities in order for it to work for you. If you dismiss it, you don't think that is happening, then more than likely it won't happen. Okay, so it's just a process of time and educating yourself and learning about your body. The masters always explain to us, learn about your body, learn about your eyes, your ears, your hair, your nose, everything that's to do with who you are, because each part has a part to play, okay, in your transformation. I'm going to try and find, I think it's in design, intelligent design and divine design, where it talks about the morphic field. So just bear with me while I bring that up. I'm conscious of the time as well. It's 10 past, right? Okay. Can somebody find that? If we can, have we got intelligent design upstairs? Let me see if I can find it. That's right. I've got it here. If you can't find it, I've got to do it over here. I just need to find that portion. Oh, brilliant. But sometimes it's just hard trying to scroll through these pages. Right, so, right. That straight away, Okay, so I'm going to read from page 14. Okay, let me find page 14 on here. And you can see on the screen as well. Verse 17. Okay. So I'm going to read, it says verse 70 from Intelligent Design, Divine Design, or Plot of Aliens. That's Actual Fact, Intelligent Design, Divine Design, or Plot of Aliens, series number 46. Okay, and what the Kakasu, verse 70, what the Kakasu, Caucasoid, have taught over the past 6,000 years and more, recent and accepted scientific paradigm of genetic determinacy is now being exposed as wrong. Verse 71, genes are not locked into a specific code, unchangeable, and can change on a daily basis. And they do just that. Munwapu, Nuwapians change you and you think you're in love when you're not. Verse 72, over the past and in world religions, you will hear these terms used. Tagyur, transform. Yeah, so pay attention to these words, okay? This is linking into the gallbladder question and the gallstones. Tagyur, transform, transfigurate, jaloi, nashur, evolute, Ghayur, change. Qayuf, morph. Basut, evolve. Shachul Hayul, shapeshift. How mortals were able to alter, I read it again, verse 73. How mortals were able to alter their physical appearance, this has been recorded the world over. Verse 74. Even the medical term of keloidal of the skin, mostly of melaninite races of Nagaro Negroes, is a form of physical change. Verse 75. You must overstand your physical body, khatat, body, your khasafat, cells, your damam, blood, your proteins, a word that means primary element, or Greek, proteos, because your proteins are the primary components of all gharas, plant, and huan, animal, as well as human cells, a word from Latin cella, small room, a small unit of protoplasm. Verse 76, each humanoid is made up of 900,000 different proteins. Proteins are linear chains whose molecular links are composed of amino acid molecula. Each of the 19 different amino acids has a unique shape, so that even linked together in a chain, the resulting proteins fold into elaborate three-dimensional wire sculpture. Verse 78. The protein sculpture's pattern is determined by the sequence of its amino acid links. The balancing of electromagnetic charges along the protein's chain serves to control the final shape of the sculpture. In the manner of a lock and key, protein sculpture complements the shape of environmental molecules, which include other proteins. When proteins interlock with a complementary environmental molecule, they assemble into complex structures similar to the way cogged gears intermesh to make a watch. Verse 82. Mulwapu Nuwapians, Ovu Nuwap, that very word kayuf, morphing, and kaya fuyi, morphic, you must understand that the primary components of life are orchestrated by something or someone. The morphic resonance thinkers say that even though you appear separate, you are bound together in a common field, and it is within that field that communication among cells, DNA, particles, and on takes place. All life is living, is one existence. While the neuroscience explain or try to explain gravitation and outline what they call invisible force of dark energy, dark matter, neutrino, which they claim holds all things together. Dark energy being a form of energy that permeates all space and can affect the rate at which things move through the universe and counteracts gravity. Dark matter is barely detectable due to its low radiation emittance and gravitational effect on things surrounding it. The scientific reasoning or hopes, fears, beliefs, and theories also tend to divide everything into separate mechanistic and material categories. The same as DNA. They now know that in fact there's only one race, the African original black man of South Africa. Okay, so let's just jump into, right. The very word morphic, verse 93, comes from the Greek word meaning form. And the morphic field, morphogenetic field, determines how things take form. Not only living things, yet inanimate, non-sentient matter as well. Not overstanding the Fater al-Fatah, natural nature matrix, on how things are formed at their roots as atoms or cells. Yurapu, Europeans have no idea of anything past 6,000 years. Just find more on it. So morphogenesis teaches that something imposes a pattern of organization on a field, producing specific outcomes in material things or matter physically. These fields are not fixed, evolve. Okay? So the morphic field is alive and is by way of your thoughts and your direct focus on who you are and what you can become, allows you to actually grow new limbs or grow new cells or heal yourself, etc. But again, it's all about the thoughts that is behind it. Okay? um, let me just find that part where it talks about your thoughts. Right. So verse 109. This is part of the reason you can see a Kradu child that doesn't have cancer in his genes end up developing disease when exposed to a field which consistently created it. That is also why some people with cancer-causing genes don't get cancer at all. So in Nuwapians, you have residence, you have your own personal field in your Yahasa genes, and resonant, resound, or the sounds we as Munwapu, Nuwapians know as C major for this Wahu Makwan universe, F major for this Makhwak planet, and A major for your physical Khatat body, vibrating or resonant frequencies played at once creates harmony in your hormones. And these can be transmitted in the fields. So if you now see the bigger picture of what the master teacher is explaining, is that this morphogenetic field has a certain resonant frequency, which is your physical body, your own personal. Then you also have the field of your genes, and through the chanting that we are doing, or what we say is FAC, okay, we're able to influence the morphic field, okay, and in that doing that, we have harmony within our body. So it's not just a crazy thing, or you think when you're chanting it's just not having any effect. It's having an effect on multiple levels. Yeah, you're actually harmonizing and creating a peaceful state in your being, all right, from doing this. And in turn, if you're able to direct that energy, you can actually heal portions of your body, etc. So, you know, again, I'm not advocating that you having gallstones, that this is what will be the end result and you'll be healed. What I'm saying is that this is one aspect of how you can go towards healing yourself, okay? But always, if it's a thing, I'm not a doctor, so always go to the ones that know so that they can help you, which is obviously your hospitals and your, you know, scientists in that field. But know that there's also a resonant frequency. So let me just wrap it up. And these can also be transmitted in the fields or passed on through a non-resident frequency or non-local resonance into your consciousness. And we already talked what the consciousness is the soul, okay? And affects your genes. Each race vibrates on their own scale of Masak music. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, F, A, C. This is why if you listen to Afafre, Ka'a African music, it is unlike Dravadu, and it goes on into other things after that. But seek out the book, Actual Fact, Intelligent Design, Divine Design, or Plot of Aliens for further information. All right, but it goes into much more in depth in there. Any other questions that's come up? All right, the next question I have here, if there's nothing on Clubhouse, it says about the Masonic order. Which lights and frequency we have, like amber light, green light, and yellow light, existing this kind of distinction? Sorry, I don't quite understand that question. About the Masonic order, which lights and frequency we have, like amber light, green light, and yellow light, existing this kind of distinction? Okay, I don't quite understand that. Maybe try and clarify, make it clearer. Do you understand? Okay, we'll move on to the next one because we're conscious of the time. These people, Abraham, Moses, all this Christian and Muslim stuff, did they really exist? Who of them was created by Enlil or Enki? Okay, right. Abraham, Moses, those people that are mentioned biblically, okay, they didn't exist by those terminologies. There were people that existed that had names, but what has happened is they've been given wrong information about them, okay, and these became your characters in the Bible. So when you have Abraham, you're looking at Abrahamet. Yeah, there's actually a contraction of 3 different titles that have been put together to create your Abraham. Okay, so those different characters that were existing, and then they've been made into a composite character, and that became your Abrahamic story. So there was a being that existed. His name was Abram, okay, or another name for him was Azar, I think, if I'm correct. And he did live, existed. He was a Chaldean, and he also did was descendant from the people that you mentioned of Enlil and Enki. But it goes into a much more deeper breakdown than what I can give you in less than 7 minutes. Okay. And all this Christian and Muslim stuff, did they really exist? Moses, again, a composite character. The original person was Thutmose or Tahutimose. Okay. He was of was it I think the Phoenician and African descent. Okay, and he existed because there was different. What you have to realize is there was different Egyptian. What's the word I'm looking for? Dynasties. There you go. There was different Egyptian dynasties. Okay, in those Egyptian dynasties, there was different people or tribes that came into Egypt, and they inherit those names that they had after they left to go out of Egypt. They inherited different names. Okay, and through time, when religion picked it up, they gave them these titles. But there was actually people that did exist. There were real people that existed, but their names was not Abraham, Moses, etc. They had other names. You with me? And like I said, these are composite characters that you find in your Bible stories. Okay. But the Adamites and their creation goes back to the Anunnaki, who you've mentioned as Enlil and Enki. Okay, but like I said, it's a bigger build than for me to be able to explain in like X amount of seconds or minutes. Next question. Who are the 144,000 spoken of in the Bible? Again, this is not just specifically about just the Bible or who are they. We are the 144,000 in our culture. Okay. There's a certain specific amount of people that are to be raised to a certain level. And as there was a last update, which again, time permitting, I won't be able to read it, but essentially these are going to be raised to a certain level and taken to a particular place to be raised. Okay, I'll leave it at that because it's very it's a long read, but essentially they'll be taken to a remote place outside of this Earth system to a known place known as the Goldilocks zone, and from there they'll be taught certain information or relocated because of what's going to be taking place on this planet. Okay, that's one of the reasons. That's the main reason why the master teacher is here, is to raise us to a certain level so that we'll be able to be removed from this planet, because there's going to be catastrophes that are going to take place on this planet. I don't know if you were here earlier, and I was reading from the Immigrant, a particular update where it talks about that there's going to be calamities that's taking place on this planet. Okay, if just the other day, I think on the news, they were talking about a meteorite that was 1% likely to come to this planet. I know they talk about meteorites a lot, but this particular one they're really concerned about because of the actual date that it's supposed to land or hit this planet was 2032. That's the time that they've marked it as. Funny that the removal of the Adamite race is by 2030. So you make up your mind. You with me? But the 144,000, it can be found in a lot of different cultures. It's not just ascribed to just a biblical aspect. Okay, but what it talks in there about the 12,000 from this tribe, 12,000 from that tribe, etc., is talking about their characteristics, and not necessarily that it's just going to be just one people. It's just going to be like their characteristics, and from that they'll be the ones selected, raised to a certain level, and then they'll be returned back as the teachers to redeem this planet. okay? But this planet is going to be, eventually being removed out of this solar system if we don't do what we're supposed to do. Okay, question, some of us having night shift. Does that mean you have to retire? I don't understand what that means. Maybe you have to go. Well, I bid you a good night shift. Some of us having night shift work and we're advised to take vitamin D. Okay, right, see what you mean. Right, some of us having night shift work, we're advised to take vitamin D and magnesium in pills. Is it safe for us? Yes, it is, because your body needs vitamin D and magnesium because you're dealing with certain electrolytes, etc., that happens in your body, and magnesium is one of those things that can actually like help with heart murmurs and things like that. The reason why, if you're working night shift, your body secretes a particular hormone, melatonin. Keep getting those two, always get them mixed up wrong way around. I think melatonin for night. And is that right? Melatonin? Can't remember. Serotonin, no, it's nighttime. Yeah. So serotonin is secreted at night. And what your vitamin D is very important during the day because it has a lot of steps and processes and metabolic things that it does during the nighttime, okay, where it produces more serotonin, and it's also needed in your gut area as well. So it is advisable to take natural, because you can find natural vitamin D. Obviously, sunshine, most important one, but you can find it in mushrooms, you can find it in bee pollen, you can find it in, what else is there? What other thing has vitamin D? You can find an algae. There's an algal source of vitamin D, as opposed to the lanolin version, which you can find from sheep. Because what they do is they take the oil from the sheep to create the bee pollen, because sheep, through their wool, produce a particular oil that produces vitamin D. So that's what they use to create the actual vitamin D from. But you can actually find an algae version. It's called algal vitamin D, which is sourced from seaweed, okay, plants. Okay, so you can check that out. Again, magnesium, there's different sources of magnesium you can get eating nuts. You know what I mean, before you go to bed, certain particular nuts have magnesium. So yeah, there's things that you can do naturally as opposed to just taking a pill. You know, just find out the ratio that you're having taken in pill form to the ratio that you should have in natural form, and then just take that. So if it's a handful of, you know, pistachio nuts or whatever the case may be, you take that as opposed to the tablet. If it's the same thing with vitamin D, if you can find an alternative in a natural form or food form, I'd advise that as opposed to taking the tablets or pills. Okay. Again, the caveat here is I'm not a doctor, okay, but through research, that's what you should do as well. Do the research, do what's good for you, do your due diligence so that you know what's right for your body. Okay, is there any fact check done on the Ebers papyrus? Okay, time is up. So if you got last burning questions, or we'll wrap it up after this. Is there a fact check? What do you mean? When you say is there a fact check? What do you mean by that? Maybe for another class, you can ask that question, because I don't know about what you mean by fact check. If you go and do your research and correlate it to what we teach, because the Ebers Papyrus is just named after one of these Germans or people who probably researched and tried to translate it. But yes, go ahead.
Okay, this morphic field, said energy field through the morphic field eventually becomes existence of life. Okay, then if we look into life and we see caucasoids, humans, me, planets, aliens, can we go back and say somewhere someone's we created it ourselves?
We are the creators. That's why it says the etheric being is the creative part of you. That etheric being that you have. Remember, we as Africans or people on this planet, we're just different forms of ether. Yeah, we are the highest form of ether, 9 ether. So being that we're etheric beings, we just house in the body at the moment on a particular dimensional level. But there's different dimensions to us, dimensional states to us. That's why you have your conscious self, your super conscious self. You with me? That's all interconnected or linked. And the job.
We the ones that through thought, he said thought. Can we not unthink all the scales?
That's what we're doing now through Wu-Sabat. We're unthinking, unraveling, you know what I mean, and demystifying the information, the chaos. But a being has to be sent in order for you to be triggered. So that's why the master teacher has incarnated to trigger you, to get you to remember that you are the one that created this reality, and you've trapped yourself in it. But in doing that, you also created a being that would also enforce that reality, or this sixth ether force. You with me? So originally it was 9 ether. When 9 ether starts to die or get weaker, it becomes 6 ether. When 6 ether starts to die and it is totally obliterated, or as weaker state, it becomes ghost. And ghost station is what we're looking up to. You see what I'm saying? So we need to raise our ethers. And that's where you link back into your etheric being. You give that power by doing the right things, the spiritual fasting, the this, the that, because in strengthening your body, you strengthen your spirit. In strengthening your spirit, you strengthen your soul. In strengthening your soul, you link with your ether. Your ether then starts to create the world which we can live in again, because that's the creative part of you.
Yeah, I also studied this guy. I don't know if you know him, Neville Goddard. And that's where I had this principle first.
Yeah, the knowledge. No, I've never heard of him, but as we said, this is coming from the Akashic records. All this information is coming from the Akashic records, and there are people that are connected or tapped into the Akashic records. The master teacher has always stated that every race has been sent a warner. He's the warner for our race. There's been other people that have been, other warners being sent to their own race to raise them up, because it's not just we are the only ones that are going to be removed from this planet. There's other races who have been being connected to their ancestors who have come back for them, like the Pleiadians or the beings from Andromeda, or whatever the case may be. They've come here to also take their children off this planet. Okay, but he's the warner for us in this day and time. So listen to what the warner has to say. Okay, I think that's a wrap up, because I'm getting some hard stares in the at the moment. So thank you again, Tawakum.
It's the next class.
Every Saturday, my brother. Every Saturday. We do our best to have it every Saturday. Okay, same time, same place. So what's that? What's that then? Friendship Day?
Yeah.
Did someone was it mentioned? I don't know. Can you announce it? No, because I haven't been able to. Yeah, sorry, that was just something else. No, yeah, it's okay, it's okay. Yeah. So we every Saturday 9 to 7:30. Sorry, 7 to 9:30. We have a question answer class. We also urge those who want to be members and are serious about taking the membership. Go to nashat.co.uk and look for membership. Also on the UnitedSabianWorldwide.com. There's also on there, you can also seek membership and apply on there. There's regular updates. There's information about our culture and how we, put out what we wear as a culture, because all of these have a part to play. There's things that are taking place in the world where people are to come together, because if you stand by yourself, you'll be targeted. Let's just put it that way. So I'm not doing scaremongering. I'm not saying that, but we have to live our culture in order to be recognized by the powers that be and by extraterrestrials as well, because they're also looking on. Okay. Taukum Lahe Ya Toy Pa Kayat. Thank you for coming to the class, and have a brilliant weekend. Enjoy. Have safe journey where you are. Travel safe. Be safe. Ashok and Wadu Moisar.